on this planet. There really is only one of us here. It's all one single species, and I think that it's high time we started working together and forgetting about what our governments tell us to do. We actually employ our governments to act on our behalf and to act in our best interests and to do things that serve the people. But our governments have long since ceased to do this, and I think it's about time for people to recognise this. People see this all the time, and they'll say the politicians are crooks, and then they'll go back to their TV. They won't do anything about it. Well, hang on a minute, you just said that they were crooks, and yet these people are running your life, and we employ these people to act on our behalf. See, politicians have passed laws and they've created this social status for themselves that we sort of look at these people and we elevate them to almost royalty, and we treat them as if they're demigods and rulers. But they're not. They're public servants, and they're not serving the public. They're simply working for international banking cartels. I have a yardstick that I use, Garbo. When I think of politicians, I think, well, any politician who has not yet spoken out against the central banking system and the way the citizens of their nation are enslaved to artificial debt by the central banking system, which is a privately run system. Any politician that hasn't yet spoken out about this is either a criminal or is too stupid to be in office. And that's the yardstick that I use to measure these people by. And as far as their laws go, I mean, I might seem like somewhat of a radical, but as far as their laws go, as far as I'm concerned, there's really only natural law. You don't kill, you don't steal, you don't hurt. That's really basically all there is. All the other laws are basically just little squiggly lines written on pieces of paper by men with expensive suits. They don't actually mean anything. We only give power to these laws, which is just legislation, because we choose to. We choose to allow these criminals to run our world and run our lives. And all the problems that we face is because of our acquiescence to the behaviour of this, what is essentially a criminal cartel that's in charge of all of our governments. That's really the way I look at the whole thing. I mean, it's a little bit black and white, I suppose, for some people, but that's really what it is. If you want to cut through all the red tape and really get to the bottom of it, what you realise is that what is running our planet is not dissimilar to the mafia, and it exists because we allow it to exist. It's like we never take responsibility for ourselves. We go through life, we go through our childhood with our parents looking after us, and we get to a certain stage in life where we think, well, hang on, I don't need my parents anymore, I can go out on my own into the world. And as soon as we do that, we look for new parents, and we find them in the form of government, and we allow these people to run our lives for us. And they put all their rules in place, and we go, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. And they just gradually tighten it and tighten it and tighten it until we all end up this race of robots doing exactly what we're told. And it's because we don't ever take responsibility for themselves. It's like we refuse to grow up, and we base our lives in fear. All of our societies are based in fear. We're scared to step outside of the box or to think outside of the box, and terrified, absolutely terrified of ever looking at ourselves and taking responsibility for ourselves. And that's a shocking thing for a lot of people to admit, but it really is the basis of the societies that we've constructed for ourselves, and therein lies the problem. That's what needs to be addressed. We need to start taking responsibility for ourselves. And when we understand what we are and what this world truly is, and understand it simply by connecting with each other, helping each other, creating community and unity in community, we can literally change the entire planet. I've got some initiatives happening here at the moment of global or community unity that we're creating. Trying to put the unity back in community, which is what community is supposed to be. The word community actually means common unity, and we've missed all of that. And I believe that by getting this common unity back in place, we could literally walk away from the systems that we've constructed for ourselves. That's how to change the world, non-compliance. There's no good fighting against this system. There's no good having violent revolution. We've had countless violent revolutions all throughout history. None of them have ever really achieved anything. all they've done is give us a temporary reprieve, and they put a new form of tyranny in place, which eventually ends up quite worse than the one that was in place before it. As technology improves, so our methods of tyranny improve. So what's caused none of these revolutions of the past to ever work is because there was never a revolution of consciousness, which is really an evolution of consciousness. We never, ever truly felt that we are free ourselves as people. We've always looked for new parents, and so we always look for government. When we look at government, what is government? Well, whenever I think of government, I think of the two Latin words, which is guba mente, which means control mind. So all government is a big mind control exercise. And so I think it's just time we came into our power. And I've probably gotten right off the track from whatever question it was you asked me before. But I think the whole I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent there. But
well, actually,
I really think it's all about common unity, mate. I really do. I think that's the key to the whole thing.
Exactly. Well, actually, you beautifully just, went into the next question I wanted to ask. I'll skip you other questions, but let's talk more about the unity. So, I personally have some of my own information about what you're doing. So, but would you like to tell our listeners something more about who are you starting to unite with? With other people who are actually talking about this global unity as well from a heart-based point of view.
Well, it's amazing, actually. A couple of months ago, I had a little discussion in my little cabin here. There were 4 of us sitting around, and we were having a discussion about the nature of reality and the nature of atoms and things to a person who just sort of contacted me through Facebook and wanted to meet me, so he came along, and we were sitting here having a conversation. And a couple of my friends who were here listening, after we had this big discussion, they said, well, that was amazing, we should do this more often. And I said, well, okay, let's have meetings. So we decided we'll have public meetings or community meetings. We'll all meet at a friend of mine's lounge room. We'll go and meet at his place every Monday night. And we went for our first meeting, and there were 7 people there. And it's been going for about 2 months now. And the last meeting that we had, there were just over 60 people there. We're all sitting around in this guy's lounge room, 60 people, He's got a reasonable sized lounge room, thank God. So we've started this community gathering where we're trying to find ways of empowering the community. And it's quite remarkable that it should have happened where it is, because it's quite a long story, actually, if I was to tell you the whole thing, how it's all come about. But apparently these meetings were predicted or prophesied by a Zulu shaman called Credo Matwa, who a lot of people might know from David Icke's work. He talks about Credo quite a bit. The person who actually lives in the house where we're having the meetings met Credo in 1984, and Credo told him that he was going to be instrumental in pulling in a lot of people from all walks of life and all different persuasions and all different nationalities that were going to be instrumental in helping shift the human consciousness. So he kind of came to Australia, and he kind of started moving around, and he triangulated his directions to what felt right, and he ended up in this house, living up in the mountains up behind where I am. And he just sat in this house for 18 months, didn't even go out. He just kind of lived in the house. He went out shopping when he had to, but he basically just stood there and lived in this house. And he came across my work on the internet, and he came across the work of certain other people, and he thought, okay, these are the people I need, I'll call them in. And he never left the house. And I met a friend of a friend and a friend, and ended up at this guy's house. And he's going, oh, you're the guy that I saw on the radio, and rah, rah, rah. And so we've called these meetings in, and suddenly Ben Stewart's come over from America, who made Chromatica and Esoteric Agenda, and he's been up there, we've been having meetings, and Freeman here is here at the moment from the Freeman Perspective and Freeman TV and all this. And so we've called all these people in, and all these sort of things are happening. And every time, and we've started all these community initiatives as well, and every time we need something to make some initiative work, we just kind of call it in, and someone shows up who has the skill that we need, and it gets done. And just as we needed to get this a little bit more global and get it out to the world, what we're actually doing. We're starting to actually build a website which is designed at linking up people, whoever has something and someone else might need something. Well, we can link you up with the haves and the needs and the wants and the have, and so that we can have this global community of giving and sharing and helping and have it in place. So we're working all this and working all this up and getting all this happening. And suddenly, yesterday, I got a call from Miriam Delicado, who is quite, I'm sure a lot of people know about Miriam. She's quite a well-known woman. She's an author. She's been involved in a lot of community things. She's started the Great Gathering, which I've actually had a link to the Great Gathering on my website, thecrowhouse.com, for the last year, because Miriam actually contacted me a year ago and told me about the Great Gathering, so I put the link up there and then wondered what happened to Miriam. I heard from her for a year. Suddenly, just as I've got this whole community thing going on, Miriam contacts me yesterday and says she's got the Great Gathering website being updated. She's got this huge community unity, global unity thing going on, which is exactly what I'm doing here, is this big global unity thing. And she's spoken to 3 or 4 other people that morning who are all doing the same thing. And I've had Ben Stewart, who, as I said, made Chromatica an esoteric agenda over here, and he's also doing this whole global unity thing called the Hanged Man Project. So now we're going to be able to link all of these things up together. We're going to have 5 or 6 very major networks. We'll have my entire fan base, which is quite substantial. My website gets around 40,000 hits a day, sometimes more. We've got all of Ben's fan base. We've got all of Freeman's fan base. We'll have all of Miriam Delicado's fan base and the other people that she's working with as well. So we'll link all this up together, and it's all about creating global unity, putting the unity back in community. And the global unity we're talking about, folks, is not the New World Order. It's not global governments. It's not anything like that. So that's the thing with the New World Order and everything that Al Gore and Bill Gates are trying to do. It's everything we need. They're trying to co-opt it all into this whole global monetary system, carbon tax thing, you know. And the monetary system is the first thing we need to address. So, yeah, so all these things have just kind of happened. It's all just kind of fallen into place. And we've got, like I said, 60 people attending these meetings now, and we haven't even advertised or told anybody that we're having these meetings. All these people have just called in, and every time we need a new skill, it walks in the door. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I hope that people are happy about seeing all of us coming together, because again, the reason why, one of the reasons why we had Miriam yesterday on the show is that our project and our team is working with Miriam as well, and I'm quite sure you and I, Max, will talk more about some mutual cooperation as well. So I'm just really happy we all can be part of this, no matter which group we belong to, and that we're actually doing what we're talking about, because we all know that there are different groups, around the world, and different people who talk about unity, but they don't do much about it. They talk about it, but that's actually all that they do. For various types of reasons, but that's not what I want to focus on right now. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the future, Max, with you, if you're fine with that. So what do you see happening to the consciousness of humanity before 2012, before this important date? That there's too many assumptions about that day, but we all know something's going to happen. So what is your take on that?
I think it's a crossroads. I really do. I think that it provides a choice. I believe that we can either come into our power, discover who and what we actually are, and we can change this world for the better, or we can simply lapse into apathy and allow a police state to be built around us. I really do. I don't go along with a lot of the things that I've heard about. A lot of the New Age talk that we're all going to ascend to 5th dimension, and those of you that are ready are going to ascend, and those who aren't are not going to ascend, and we're going to split off into parallel realities and all this sort of stuff. I think a lot of this is pure speculation. I think a lot of it is, it's almost the equivalent of waiting for Jesus to come back and save you. think there's a lot of people that are waiting for 2012 to happen.